You're not responsible for how she feels, and that one shift will change your life. Not a little, not over time, but today, right now. If she's angry, you feel guilty. If she's quiet, you feel like a criminal. If she's upset, your stomach knots, your heart races, your mind starts sprinting, replaying everything you said, analyzing every text, wondering what you did wrong. And 9 times out of 10, you did nothing, you just existed. Comment: I control my emotions. Number 1. Her feelings are hers. You spend your days walking on invisible wires, scanning every shift in her voice, every pause in her text, every look on her face, like your very peace depends on decoding her emotions perfectly. And the worst part is that deep down, you believe it's your job to make sure she's okay before you are, because you were conditioned to think that a good person makes others feel better, even if it kills their own spirit in the process. But the truth is, no matter how closely you observe, how gently you speak, how many times you ask, "Are you okay?" it will never be enough for someone who hasn't decided to be okay within themselves, because her peace is not built by your performance, her joy is not created by your sacrifice, her emotions are not your responsibility, and they never were. But you've been taught otherwise by a world that rewards quiet suffering and calls it love, that praises self-erasure as noble. And every time you take the blame for her moods, every time you absorb her tension, every time you tiptoe around her expectations, you reinforce the lie that her emotional state belongs to you, and then you wonder why you feel so hollow, why you're tired even when you've done nothing, why you dread coming home to someone who was once sweet but now reacts to your kindness like a threat. And what you must understand is that you are not her emotional support system on demand. You are not her cure, not her project, not her counselor, not her dumping ground. And the moment you stop trying to fix her feelings is the moment you begin fixing your own life, because your mental clarity returns when you no longer hold yourself hostage to someone else's chaos. And if she chooses to sulk, accuse, punish, or withdraw because you didn't regulate her emotions for her, let her, because that silence is teaching you more than her words ever did. It's teaching you that your worth does not rise and fall with her moods. It's teaching you that love isn't supposed to feel like babysitting a fragile ego. It's teaching you that real peace begins when you stop answering to everything that isn't yours to carry. And once you fully grasp that you're not the author of her feelings, you can finally be the author of your own life. Because as long as you think her emotions define your value, you will never be free. And freedom isn't found in learning how to please her better. It's found in learning to please your own conscience first. And that means telling yourself the truth you've been afraid to say out loud, that her constant dissatisfaction is not your failure, that her inability to self-soothe is not a reflection of your worth, that her blaming, emotional manipulation, or cold indifference is not evidence that you're hard to love. It's proof that she has not done her work, and you cannot do it for her. And no matter how much you care, no matter how long you stay, no matter how patient you are, if someone wants you to feel small so they can feel big, they will find a way to make you wrong even when you're right. And every time you ignore that, you betray yourself again. But the truth is, self-betrayal ends the moment you stop asking, "What did I do?" and start asking, "Why do I keep allowing this?" Because when you stop owning her emotions, you reclaim your own, and with that comes power, not the loud, aggressive kind, but the quiet, grounded kind that doesn't chase approval, doesn't need to fix everyone, doesn't bend under the weight of guilt, because it knows this simple reality. If someone cannot take responsibility for how they feel, they are not ready to be close to anyone, especially someone like you who has spent a lifetime trying to be the emotional safe place for people who don't even know what safety is. And now you know better. Now you see the pattern for what it is. Not love, not devotion, not connection, but emotional codependency disguised as loyalty, and the cost of continuing to carry her emotions is your own aliveness, your focus, your peace, your sleep, your dreams, your direction. And the worst part is, she might not even realize how much she's draining you, because people who rely on others to manage their feelings rarely have the awareness to see what they're doing, and if they do see it and keep doing it, then that's not just unconscious behavior, that's manipulation. And you owe it to yourself to walk away from anything that forces you to abandon your own clarity just to keep someone else emotionally afloat. Because you can love someone deeply and still choose distance when that love starts costing your sanity. And this is what changes your life. Realizing you never had to carry it all to begin with. Realizing that true connection doesn't require you to be the emotional firefighter in every interaction. Realizing that real relationships are built between two whole people, not one whole and one whole. And every time you put down what was never yours to carry, you rise a little taller, breathe a little deeper, and start to remember who you were before you took on the burden of making everyone else okay. And that version of you, the clear, calm, unshaken version, is not gone, just buried beneath years of guilt, obligation, and misplaced responsibility. But now he's waking up, now you're waking up, and from this moment forward, you don't explain away your peace. You don't apologize for being steady while she's in chaos. You don't carry what she refuses to process, because her feelings are hers, and yours are sacred, and you will no longer trade your emotional clarity to manage hers. You're done making yourself small in the name of being good. You're done being the emotional caretaker, and the moment you decide this, not tomorrow, not someday, but right now, everything changes, because for the first time in your life, you're putting your energy where it belongs, into building a life that reflects your peace, not her pain. And if you're ready to live this truth fully, not just hear it, but feel it, breathe it, become it, then the Stoic relationship blueprint was written for you. This is not just a book, it's the reset button your soul has been searching for, packed with timeless Stoic principles that men were never taught but desperately need to lead with strength, peace, and clarity in a world full of emotional manipulation and confusion. And now it's available in audiobook format, so you can listen while walking, running, lifting, or even while clearing your head. Because your transformation doesn't wait, and neither should you. The moment you download it, it's yours forever. No subscriptions, just unshakable truth that you can return to anytime, anywhere, in your ears, in your mind, and in your life. The link's in the comments. Take it, listen, and finally build the life and relationships your peace has been begging for. Number 2, don't try to fix everything. Fixing becomes a habit when constantly placed in relationships where the emotional climate changes without warning, and any sign of discomfort is seen as a crisis that must be resolved immediately, regardless of who caused it or how unfair the demand is, because from the earliest days of connection, the expectation is set that stability comes from how fast problems are solved, not how deeply they are understood, which creates a cycle where being the solution becomes an identity, not a choice. And the cost of that identity is the quiet, steady loss of the self that once had clear thoughts, peace of mind, and a sense of internal worth that wasn't measured by someone else's emotional volatility, because when every sigh she breathes turns into a riddle and every shift in tone becomes an emergency, you are trained to become hyper-aware of her every movement and tone while becoming blind to your own. And over time, that creates a version of reality where nothing feels safe until she's smiling again. But even that safety is temporary and built on your ability to fix, solve, soothe, guess, accommodate, and shapeshift around what may or may not even be a real problem. And the deeper trap is that the more problems you fix, the more you become responsible for keeping her emotions steady. which is a dangerous illusion because her feelings don't stabilize just because you throw yourself into the role of caretaker, entertainer, comforter, and emotional first responder all in one. And what begins as kindness becomes obligation, and what was once love becomes survival. And there's a quiet breakdown that happens when peace is only achieved through over-functioning and apologizing for things never caused. And this breakdown isn't dramatic or loud. It's slow, subtle, exhausting, and deeply personal, because every time she drops her unspoken expectation on you to fix something, she doesn't name you, scramble to guess what went wrong, and eventually begin to resent yourself for never being good enough to prevent the next wave of disappointment. And that resentment doesn't stay quiet forever. It leaks out in silence, withdrawal, exhaustion, and bitterness. Not because you don't care, but because you've given everything, and the peace never lasts. And that's when the truth starts to sink in. Not everything can or should be fixed, and especially not by someone who wasn't the one who broke it, because constantly fixing becomes enabling when her growth is avoided while yours is sacrificed. And many refuse to see this for what it is, because the culture romanticizes this kind of fixing as noble and masculine and selfless. But there's nothing noble about burning down your sanity to keep someone else emotionally comfortable, and there's nothing strong about feeling responsible for every emotional ripple she experiences. And yet that's exactly the script that's been handed out and accepted until now, because a different choice is available. And that choice begins with the discipline to pause and let silence teach what fixing has never been able to show, which is that people who constantly need you to regulate their peace are not building peace, they're outsourcing it. And when you become the source of someone's emotional balance, you are no longer a partner but a crutch, and the relationship stops being mutual and starts becoming codependent. And the worst part is, she may not even see it. And if she does, and still expects you to play along, it's not ignorance anymore, it's entitlement. And refusing to acknowledge this because it makes her uncomfortable is exactly why nothing changes. So what actually works, what actually heals, is not the endless cycle of guessing and fixing and smoothing over, but the grounded refusal to play that game and the ability to say, I'm not your fixer. I'm not here to constantly repair what you refuse to face. And that sentence feels like a rebellion, because it is a rebellion against the narrative that says love equals fixing and presence equals sacrifice. But it's also an invitation to clarity, because once that truth is spoken, you begin to see everything differently, and the moments where you once rushed to solve now become spaces for reflection, and the tension that used to push you into reaction becomes a test of your self-control, because clarity doesn't come from her approval. It comes from your alignment with what's right and healthy and clear. And Stoic alignment isn't about coldness or shutting down. It's about refusing to make someone else's emotional world your full-time job when you already have a life to build and peace to protect. And what that looks like in practice is choosing not to chase moods, not to read silence as failure, not to confuse her unhappiness with your mistake, and not to accept manipulation disguised as subtle guilt or emotional withdrawal, because people who love you well don't ask you to prove your care through emotional labor. They don't make you perform peace so they can feel okay, and they don't build comfort by watching you fall apart. Trying to keep things perfect and fixing everything keeps things surface level and shallow and stagnant, because nothing deep ever grows in a place where honesty is avoided for harmony. And every man who's been the fixer knows the exhaustion of loving someone who never returns the favor, not because they can't, but because they've been conditioned to believe it's your job to carry the relationship. And this belief festers in the small moments, the missed thank yous, the subtle emotional punishments, the expectations without expression, the way she acts like you failed her simply because you didn't anticipate her needs fast enough. And every time you try harder, you train her to expect more and appreciate less. And that imbalance becomes permanent until it is disrupted. And it doesn't get disrupted by trying harder. It gets disrupted by stepping back and letting her own her emotions, instead of dumping them on your life like a crisis you must always solve, because fixing what she won't take responsibility for is not love. It's self-neglect, and the way out is not through confrontation or revenge or rage. It's through boundaries and unshakable presence and the calm discipline of a person who no longer tries to control what isn't theirs and no longer accepts emotional chaos as proof of intimacy, because real connection is built when two people both own their inner worlds and bring stability, not drama, into the shared space. And until that happens, it's not love, it's imbalance, and the responsibility for ending that imbalance is yours, because you're the one who sees it clearly and sees clearly enough to choose better. Number 3, you're not her dumping ground. Every time emotional pressure builds inside her, she looks at you not as a partner, but as a container, a place to pour it all, a disposal unit for feelings she doesn't want to process herself. And this happens so often that it no longer even surprises you. It just feels expected, like part of your job is absorbing whatever frustration, confusion, anger, bitterness, or pain she doesn't want to hold for herself. And what's worse is that when you don't absorb it fast enough, when you dare to look overwhelmed or tired or silent for too long, she accuses you of being distant, cold, unsupportive, even though you've been carrying the emotional weight of both people for months, maybe years. And nobody ever taught you what that kind of pressure does to a person when their identity becomes the one who makes it all okay, and in return never gets asked, "Are you okay?" Because when your pain shows up, it's inconvenient. It breaks the rhythm of her self-centered emotional cycle, and so you learn to swallow your feelings because hers are always louder and more urgent. And if you speak up, it becomes another problem to fix, another blame to carry, and eventually you lose track of your own emotional world altogether and only come alive when she's settled. Only feel peace when she's not punishing you with silence or passive jabs or icy distance. And over time you begin to confuse survival with love, because the absence of drama starts to feel like connection, even when there's no warmth left. And the scary part is, you start to become addicted to that temporary calm, even though it only comes after you've paid the price of being dumped on again and again. And the guilt that comes from finally saying, "I can't hold this anymore," is crushing, because you've been trained to believe that strength means endurance, that love means containment, that devotion means disappearing, and so you keep showing up empty, thinking that one day she'll notice, that one day she'll say thank you or show up for you the way you've shown up for her. But that day never comes, and the silence stretches longer, and the apologies never come. And deep down you realize that if she could change, she would have already. And what she's doing isn't occasional or accidental. It's the way she functions. It's the only way she knows how to relate. And instead of growing and owning her emotions, she uses you to avoid them. And when you start to see this clearly, it feels like a betrayal, because you wanted to believe she was just hurt or misunderstood or going through something. But what if she's not? What if this is who she is? What if the pattern doesn't break because she benefits from it and you're the one who bleeds? And if that's true, then the only way out isn't through fixing or talking or waiting. It's through reclaiming the part of you that stopped believing you deserve peace and clarity and mutual care. And that reclamation begins with recognizing that love without respect is just emotional labor. And no matter how much someone says they care, if they keep dumping their darkness on you and blaming you for feeling tired, you are not loved, you are used. And that sentence hits hard because it calls out the truth that's been buried under excuses and hope and denial. And the solution isn't to fight or explain or prove your worth. It's to stop being available for the kind of love that only works when you're silent, compliant, and endlessly patient with someone who refuses to take responsibility for their own healing. And stepping out of that cycle means learning how to hold your ground even when she reacts, even when she gaslights, even when she cries or accuses or threatens to leave, because anything that can only survive by making you the emotional trash bin isn't love. It's dependency, and dependencies drain, they don't build. And there's nothing admirable about being the one who stays strong when someone else keeps breaking you down piece by piece, until all that's left is a shell of who you used to be before you decided that love meant accepting pain without protest. And it's not enough to see the pattern, you have to act on it. You have to start saying no in the moments you used to cave. You have to let the silence sit and not rush in to fix what she's exploding over. You have to learn the power of holding your peace, even when she's trying to provoke you, and understand that her emotional release isn't your responsibility, and her frustration isn't your fault, and her inability to regulate isn't your invitation to save her again, because saving her means losing yourself. And that trade is no longer acceptable, and when the cycle starts again, because it will, you must be different, not louder, not angrier, but clearer, not colder, but calmer, not distant, but disciplined. And the discipline comes from knowing that not everything deserves your energy, not every emotion is yours to process, and not every cry is a call for rescue. Sometimes it's a test, and the test is simple. Will you abandon yourself to make her feel better? Or will you finally choose to stand in your own life and say, I will not be the space where you unload your damage and blame me for the mess you refuse to clean up? And saying that is terrifying because it might mean losing her. But keeping someone who only loves you when you're quiet and soft and endlessly forgiving is the slowest death you can experience, and it steals your years, your confidence, your voice, your joy, and eventually your will to try at all. And that is not what you're here for, and it's not who you are anymore, because there's a version of you that's done carrying what isn't yours, and he's not angry, he's clear, he's not bitter, he's awake. And the moment you choose to stop being her emotional landfill is the moment you begin to rebuild the life you gave up trying to make her okay. And from now on, if someone wants access to you, they earn it by owning their emotions, not dumping them on you. They show it by how they regulate, not how they react. They prove it by how they listen, not how loud they yell. And you only give what you're willing to give, not what they demand. Because your peace is no longer up for negotiation, and your presence is no longer free. And every relationship from this point forward is measured by this standard. Do I feel respected, or do I feel drained? And if the answer is drained, then you walk, no matter how much history, no matter how much potential, no matter what they say, because potential without action is manipulation. And you've lived through enough to know that you're not here to be someone's cushion anymore. You're not here to carry brokenness that isn't being worked on. You're not here to fix what was never yours to break. And you're definitely not here to be the emotional target for someone who refuses to grow. Because life is too short to spend another day explaining to someone why dumping on you isn't love. And peace is too precious to keep giving it away to people who treat you like a therapist and call it intimacy. And love is too sacred to waste it on someone who only values it when it's convenient for them. And respect is too essential to accept anything less than a partner who looks you in the eye and says, I'll handle mine, you handle yours, and together we grow. Anything less is not love, and it's not for you. Number 4, let go of emotional guilt. Guilt becomes the leash when someone doesn't want to take accountability for how they feel, but still expects you to carry the consequences, and it starts so subtly, you don't even realize it's happening because it's hidden in sighs and stares and long pauses and cold shoulders, and the way conversations shift when you bring up your needs, like somehow your voice threatens their comfort. And what's worse is how easily that guilt sinks into the core, because you care, because you want things to work, because you've been trained to see sacrifice as love and endurance as strength. But all that creates is a loop where her emotional discomfort becomes your fault, her stress becomes your responsibility, and her sadness becomes your mission to fix, even when none of it came from you. And every time you try to draw a boundary or say no or ask for something for yourself, it's met with resistance or a sudden drop in connection or accusations of being selfish or distant or controlling. And you start to believe that maybe it's true, maybe you're the problem, maybe your standards are too high or your presence too cold, and so you fold again, give in again, shrink again. And that shrinkage becomes your new normal, because guilt teaches you to believe that peace is earned through self-denial. But what it really does is destroy your clarity, because now every time you consider your own needs, your mind brings up the consequences of her reactions and not the truth of your worth. And that mental cycle is exhausting because it makes you second-guess every thought before it even leaves your mouth, and you begin to speak with edits before the sentence even starts, hoping to avoid another emotional fallout. And this isn't just communication breakdown. It's emotional manipulation, disguised as emotional fragility, and the people who use guilt this way are rarely honest about it, because they believe their feelings justify their behavior, even if that behavior includes blaming, punishing, and withdrawing from the people who love them. And once you start to notice that pattern, it becomes hard to unsee, because the same things keep happening every time you choose. Every time you prioritize your mental space or your goals or your clarity, you get met with discomfort, not support, and the guilt returns like a shadow over your choices. And before long, you're not even living your own life anymore. You're managing someone else's feelings and calling it love, but that's not love. That's emotional servitude, and it's not noble or romantic to stay in that place. It's a quiet form of self-abandonment. And the truth is, most people who weaponize guilt do so because it works. And it works because you're emotionally open, you're honest, you're aware. And those traits get used against you when someone sees your empathy as an entry point to control. And so the guilt gets built, not from what you've done wrong, but from how unwilling you are to keep bleeding for someone who won't even own their cuts. And breaking free of that starts with redefining what love is. Because love is not measured by how small you're willing to become, so they can feel big, and it's not tested by how much discomfort you can absorb without complaint. And it's not proven by how quickly you say sorry when they get upset, and if they say things like, "I just feel like you don't care," when all you did was finally express a truth you've been holding back. Then what they care about isn't connection, it's control. And guilt is the weapon they use when silence doesn't work anymore, and the antidote is not becoming cold or distant. It's becoming clear, and clarity begins when you stop apologizing for being aware of your own limits and recognizing when someone is using their feelings as leverage to keep you small, and learning that not every emotional reaction deserves a response, especially when that reaction is designed to keep you obedient, and learning that your value is not based on how much guilt you're willing to endure, and learning that peace comes from choosing what aligns with your truth, even if it upsets someone who benefits from your confusion and learning. That guilt is not a sign you've done something wrong. It's a sign you're being conditioned to feel responsible for something that was never yours. And from that place of clarity, decisions become easier, boundaries feel cleaner, and your mind begins to breathe again, because now you know that your empathy isn't a weakness, and your clarity isn't cruelty, and your presence isn't something to be punished, and the guilt begins to fade, not all at once, but slowly. Each time you choose truth over peace and alignment, over approval and vision over survival, and the weight you've carried in your chest lightens every time you decide that their discomfort isn't your shame, and their silence isn't your fault, and their emotions are not your burden. And if they want to hold you hostage through guilt, then let them talk to themselves, because you're no longer available for emotional transactions that require you to go broke to keep someone else comfortable. Number 5. Walk away from drama. Drama always begins the same way, with a subtle shift where normal communication turns into guesswork, where conversations start feeling like interrogations, and every innocent comment gets twisted into an accusation, and every boundary gets reframed as cruelty, and every calm moment is interrupted by an emotional explosion designed to pull you back into chaos. And what makes it worse is how normal it starts to feel, how the noise becomes the soundtrack of the relationship, and how peace starts to feel suspicious, because it's so rare. And in that space of constant unpredictability, your nervous system is trained to anticipate conflict, even when nothing is wrong, and walking away feels like failure, because you've been conditioned to believe that enduring dysfunction is strength, but it's not. It's just a slow, spiritual death dressed up as loyalty, and people who thrive on drama rarely admit it because they convince themselves that their chaos is justified, and their reactions are natural, and their patterns are caused by you and you alone. And if you stay long enough, you start to believe it too. You start to think maybe you are too quiet or too cold or too unavailable. And so you over-communicate, you over-apologize, you over-function until all your time and energy is spent trying to prevent the next eruption instead of building the life you actually want. And every time you try to leave, you're pulled back in with emotional blackmail or promises to change or guilt about the history you share or fear about starting over. But the reality is, walking away is the only real power you have left when words no longer matter, and when being calm is mistaken for not caring, and when being honest is seen as attack, and when being consistent is used against you. And walking away doesn't mean you're cold, it means you're done. And there's a difference between patience and self-neglect, and too many confuse the two and pay for it in lost time, wasted potential, and chronic confusion. And the people who keep dragging you into drama aren't interested in solutions. They're interested in reactions, because reactions mean control, and control means they can keep you focused on their chaos instead of your purpose. And the moment you stop reacting, they start panicking, because silence terrifies the people who survive on drama. And when you finally leave, the script changes. They'll call you selfish, cold, heartless, ungrateful, anything but honest. Because the truth is, you were never the problem, you were just the container. And once the container is gone, the chaos has nowhere to go. And that's when the truth finally surfaces, not because they admit it, but because you feel peace. And that peace shows you how toxic things really were. And from that moment forward, you protect that peace with everything in you by refusing to explain your absence to people who never respected your presence. And walking away doesn't mean you hate them. It means you love yourself enough to stop proving your worth in a space that was designed to keep you questioning it. And that step changes everything, because now your life becomes quiet enough for you to hear your own voice again, and steady enough to focus on building instead of repairing, and whole enough to attract people who bring peace, not confusion and depth, not control and love, not performance. And when the drama tries to return through texts or guilt or nostalgia, you don't respond, not because you're angry, but because you're healed. And healed people don't entertain the noise they walked away from, because they know that life is too short to spend another year justifying why they deserve peace to someone who only values connection when it includes control. And you've seen the pattern, you've lived the cycle, and now you choose something better, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. And that choice makes you powerful beyond words. If you're done being blamed for emotions you didn't create, if you're done sacrificing your peace just to keep someone else calm, and if you're ready to reclaim the clarity and control you were never taught to own, then the Stoic relationship blueprint is your way out. This isn't just a book. It's the manual society never wanted you to find, because the moment you master what's inside it, you stop being controlled, manipulated, or guilted into emotional slavery. It's filled with timeless Stoic principles that will transform your life immediately, and now it's finally available in audiobook, so you can listen while walking, jogging, lifting, or even just breathing again. No games, just clarity, in your ears and in your life. Comment, "I'm taking back my peace," if you're grabbing your copy today. Like the video and subscribe to help more men find these truths before they lose years they'll never get back. The link's in the comments.